Broadcasting live from the blind eternities, this is Tap Tap Concede. Welcome, everybody, to Tap Tap Concede. My name is Graham. Joining me is Wheeler.
Thank you for having me, Graham. It is great to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you as always. And and Wheeler. That's it. It's me and
Thank
Wheeler.
you for having me, Graham. It's great to be here.
Also, James is here on tech.
Yo.
And we're going to be talking about the year that was 2022 in Magic the Gathering.
It's over?
Well, at time of recording, no. And at time of broadcast, no.
In fact, at the time of recording, 2 new products came out today.
Yeah.
With, I think, 1 more secret drop yet to happen.
Yeah.
No, it's not over. It's never over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about, we've done this for the past couple of years. We're going to do sort of a year in review and go over everything that happened in the world of Magic and the many, many things that they've released over the last calendar year. And we're going to split it into 2 episodes. This will be part 1, which will be roughly speaking January through June. And then we'll have July through December. And we're just going to talk about it and give our thoughts and look back on the year and yeah.
Okay.
If you want to buy some of these things, you can head over to cardkingdom.com/LRR. They're the sponsor of the show. Big fans of Card Kingdom, and they would love for you to buy stuff from them because that's how they function. And you can tell them Loading Ready Run sent me button, please, and they'll give you a little 1-inch button, which currently says, if I live, I have lethal. And what we like for us to be able to function is also your direct support at our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. I also want to shout out to folks who are sharing on Twitter with their Spotify Wrapped and the podcasts that they were listening to at the end of the year, and we were in some folks' top 5, which was very nice.
Hell yeah.
So thank you for that. All right, think way back to the beginning of January 2022.
Okay, Theros Beyond Death just came out.
Nope.
Huh?
So technically speaking, the first product release
Mm-hmm.
in 2022 was the first astrology land, the Secret Lair.
We're going to
They've
count
been doing all year.
the secret layers.
I'm not going to go too deep on them
Yeah.
just because there's a lot, but I think it's worth mentioning. As a reminder, they did the astrology lands. They've been releasing one every month, and they're still available. They're available all year. And they're neat, I guess.
Do you know the methodology behind which sign is linked to which basic land type?
I hope there is one,
Okay.
but I don't know.
All I know about this, maybe I'm jumping the gun if you're going to cover every single astrology.
No,
astrological sign
I'm
here.
only going to mention them in passing.
And sorry if it's too soon, but the
Okay.
Cancer land
Oh, yeah.
was a crab,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm.
On a basic plains.
That was odd, wasn't it?
You know, the natural environment.
Habitat.
I mean,
crab.
I guess everything will evolve into a crab. Yeah, I mean, it looks great. I know a lot of players that have an odd fascination with crabs that have a commander deck of crabs led by Crab,
Yeah,
the big crab. And they're like, oh, cool.
but they can't use these.
Can't
lands.
use these lands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Interesting.
Also, interesting. This was not a product release, but interesting sort of, I suppose, event in the meta world of Magic was that CEO of Wizards of the Coast, Chris Cox, was named to CEO of Hasbro. He was promoted way up the chain. So now, and then they did that thing where Wizards of the Coast became a division of Hasbro, so that now it's like they have like board games and these things and Wizards of the Coast. It's like one of their main ways they're making money, really.
Yep.
So, all right.
Golden Goose.
January 28th. Two different things were released on January 28th. Yeah, I know, right? Commander Collection Black. Any recollection of this happening? I love these, by the way.
Snake token.
Yeah, I bought
Yeah.
I have the green one and the black one, and
Okay.
I hope that they're going to continue to do one every year. But yes, this is finally we get a 1/1 Death Touch Snake token for the Ophiamancers in the crowd, and some other. I can't remember what else was in this set actually.
Phyrexian Arena.
Oh yeah,
I
So,
don't know. I'm just taking a
Ophiamancer.
guess. Oh
Yep.
yeah.
That's a cool looking Phyrexian Arena. Right, Liliana Heretical Healer. That's the flip card that turns into Liliana Defiant Necromancer. And Ghoul Color Gisa. Gisa?
Jizza,
Ah, right.
the genius. Well, the
And-
genius.
and Reanimate. That's a cool Reanimate.
Mm.
Thanks, Nils. Toxic Deluge. Ooh, very good. Oh, right, and the Sol Ring. They all have the Sol Ring and a command tower. Very cool looking command tower. So yeah, I like the Commander collections. I think they're neat. Also, I like that they're a LGS only product.
Yeah.
So it's just a nice thing for the stores to have.
I mean, this might be a universal thing, but I could do without the discourse that it generates on Commander Twitter about what qualifies as like a staple nowadays.
Oh, with like
Yeah, Phyrexian Arena's still fine. It's still fine. It's still good in Commander. It's still good in Commander. Just draw that card. It's okay.
the discourse around Phyrexian Arena specifically.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I
Huh.
say discourse, but
That's a broad ranging word.
none of those words are in the Bible.
Okay.
So,
The word discourse picks up a lot of interesting use cases around Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Also released that day. Do you remember January 28th? What other product? Again, WPN store only exclusive product.
January 28th.
Resoundingly poorly received.
I still think I was relatively concussed. So
Oh yeah. So you don't remember the first several months of the year. I have basically no memory of the middle months of the year. This will be a fantastic episode.
What a good duo for this.
Innistrad double feature.
Oh,
Remember that?
vaguely.
So this is cards from Innistrad Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow in the black and white treatment,
Mm-hmm.
smushed together into a big draft experience that was not what we thought it was going to be.
Seemed like a lot of Innistrad.
Well, so the problem was when they originally pitched this, the impression was given, and I want to say they outright said it, that it was going to be some cards.
Curated.
The impression was it was going to be like the remastered sets, where this would be a curated list of cards from both sets combined into a unique draft experience.
Right.
But as it turns out, it was just every card from both sets, including the cards that were in both sets. So like
Yeah.
Bramble Armor is in there twice.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I liked the graphic treatment. I actually thought it was really cool. I thought this was a neat idea, and I thought that the fact that they didn't curate the list at all was a huge mistake. And we bought a box. It's over there. It's sealed. We never played it because we were like, yeah, we got to get a thing of double feature. That'll be great. We'll do that on the Friday Night Paper Fight. And then we bought it, and we're like, oh, it's just literally every card. It's not a unique draft experience. That sounds like it's actually going to be miserable to play. And then we just never played it.
Also, incredible nitpick here. It looks terrible on camera.
Oh, that is a problem for specifically us.
Yeah, for specifically us, it's just not good.
It's so hard to tell the cards apart on camera.
We now basically have a rule that says you can't use the lands when you're on screen.
Yeah.
You just can't tell what they are.
I love those lands, those basics. I have some at home.
They look great.
But yeah, we can't because they all on camera they just all look like swamps because the borders are too thin to tell them apart on camera.
I will say that the treatment looks better in person than it does on screens.
Oh, big time.
Which is, I think, a problem when your main marketing approach is to show people on screens your new product. It just looks like a bunch of black and white cards, and I mean, essentially that's what they are. But they do look
The
significantly
foils
better.
look really good.
The foils
I
look
think
really
the
good,
foils-
and also the color accents of the border lines look really good. They look really good in person. I know there's a few people. I have a few friends out there who go out of their way to collect these for their commander decks and stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah, I think they're neat, but yeah, this was kind of a dud of a product.
Just
unfortunately.
if it's curated,
yeah.
just chop the chaff, not all the chaff, but chop the chaff, and then great, I'll draft that.
Yeah.
I mean, free idea for Wizards. Do this again. I don't call it double feature because it doesn't really work. But take every Innistrad block, so a proper remastered set, sort of, and make a really neat draft format. I don't know how that would work.
That could
That's
be
not my
fun.
job, but make it look cool.
Well, they do that on Magic Online.
Yeah.
Well, they're
exactly.
doing. Yeah, they are doing.
Well, they're getting Dominaria.
Dominaria remastered.
That's what I
Yes,
want,
but
basically.
they are. Yeah. You want because they're doing Shadows over Innistrad remastered on Arena, which is just Shadows block.
Yeah.
But Dominaria remastered is cards from every set that's taken place on
A
Dominaria.
Dominaria,
Anything
yeah.
that involves
Yeah, so you want
Dominaria.
that for Innistrad.
I want that for Innistrad.
sounds dope as hell.
And you could do it with these treatments,
Yeah.
or just
Or not.
throw these in as bonus things.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be the whole set.
That sounds like a better idea. I mean, we haven't played with Dominaria Remastered, and frankly, I'm excited for it.
True. Me too, yes.
Yeah, but that feels like, the idea for Dominaria Remastered feels like it would work better for something with a slightly more narrow kind of scope. Like it was on Dominaria is a very broad sweep.
It really
But
is.
just, it was on Innistrad or Ravnica. Still large, but,
Yeah.
contained enough that someone can look at it and go like, yep, that's Innistrad, all right.
Mhm. In February, we had the Secret Lair Street Fighter for Universes Beyond.
Yep.
Those were kind of fun. Look, Chun-Li's got multi-kicker. It's very funny.
Mm-hmm.
A day later, or 1,200 years later, depending on where you're counting from, it's Kamigawa. Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. I mean, draft of the year, I think. Draft set of the year. Limited. I don't know how much limited you play outside of when we do the PPRs, actually.
So it's my fault. This is actually genuinely one of my biggest faults as a Magic player, is that if I don't like a thing, actually, maybe this is just being having a healthy relationship
Oh, it
with
might
your
be.
hobby.
It might
if I
be.
don't like a thing, like if I'm not like, yes, I just don't play it.
But-
Except for spite. Sometimes I'll spite Mythic.
I think that's a fair.
Yeah, I did that with AFR.
Nice.
But for Kamigawa, I really enjoyed it. And it was, I mean, if I enjoy the set, then I'll just draft it until I get to a high enough Mythic where I'm like, yeah, it feels okay. Phenomenal set.
This set rules. This set rules so much. It was just super fun. The flavor was great. There was so much fun things you could do in the draft. The Black White Ninjas deck or the green white enchantments. They had enchantment creatures. I love the flavor that like the enchantment creatures they're like they have like spirits. They're sort of like blessed by spirits. That's why they're enchantment creatures.
Yeah.
You could also do there's like this 4 or 5 color, I guess, base green, I suppose, but you could do
Kami
this
War.
big sort of, not even with the Kami War, like having the Kami War obviously would be very good,
Mhm.
that card specifically, but you could just do like multicolor nonsense with like the Tanuki that it's basically a Croson Tusker,
Yeah.
and then the geothermal Kami to recycle
Mhm.
sagas and gain some life, and man, geothermal Kami actually that went up high on people's draft picks over the course of that format.
Yeah. Once you get into more debauchery.
Yeah, it's
Just-
this is the 3 and a green for a 4/3 spirit. When it enters the battlefield, you can return an enchantment you control to your hand. If you do, you gain 3 life. So you just start to get recycling stuff, and I mean, but then also in the much more aggressive realm, the red-black artifact, Okiba Reckoner Raid, and Oni Cult Anvil
Cult
nonsense.
Sakenzen Smelter.
Oh yeah,
Monkey.
Monkey.
Well, one of them. There are a lot of monkeys. Simeon Sling.
Oh yeah,
Really good
Yeah.
common.
Good monkey.
I think Kamigawa is a great example of it's a format where the enjoyment and the fun of it is certainly outweighs like how good
Mm.
it is. Like at times you're just like, oh, well, I didn't get to interact. Or you can just it doesn't lead to the best matches of Magic sometimes, but who cares because it's so fun. Like you'll take those beats because your other 7 games or whatever are just, I don't know, you're putting your monkey on your ghost and then like slamming face. That seems pretty cool to me.
Yep.
10 out of 10.
I'm looking at the list of sort of things that happened in the year on the fandom page, so I will mention, because it calls these out as well. The Neon Dynasty Championship was concluded on March 13th with champion Eli Cassis, who I think was in the finals of the most recent one as well, putting up some good numbers this year. The Kamigawa Alchemy set hit Arena. They announced, oh yes, right, on the 30th, Wizards Organized Play announced the return of the Pro Tour. No longer the Mythic Championships. It's the Pro Tour again. But also, more excitingly, I think, the whole sort of system of local and regional qualifiers, or local qualifiers, regional championships,
Mm-hmm.
and Pro Tours. And generally speaking, people were... It was weird to have a Wizards Organized Play announcement that everyone on Twitter was like, nice, good.
Good. Yeah.
Rather than
Great.
like, that's the death of everything.
Yeah. We
So-
can play paper magic for something.
Yeah. So good. That's good. I think it's good to be able to... I think it's important for the
Health of the game.
health of the game to have an understandable and accessible tournament structure. I think it's good.
Especially something that is so aspirational
Mhm.
and like within arm's reach.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was a fan. Part of me was like the PPTQ and the RPTQ system
Mhm.
was just like it was a lot
Mm.
at times, and maybe it would have been less of that if I were better at, RPTQs.
I thought you were just going to
So
say
many.
better at Magic the Gathering.
Well, that too. I was going to say that, and then I thought like, okay, well, let's not beat up myself too much. But part of that was it was fun because like on a local level too, people people would get hyped. You get people that would come and queue, and once they queue, they're like, all right, I guess I got to pay some amount of attention to this, and even people that weren't buying into the Pro Tour dream, so to speak, they would buy into the sense of like, well, I'm here. I mean, what if I, actually focused on this? Yeah, I guess that'd be fun. Yeah, I guess I could try to get on the Pro Tour. And, it actually, I think that's really important. It's not just like the fact that there's this dream, so to speak, for people to shoot for, but for it to be something that even a player that, might be washed up can be like, yeah, I'm going to give my all. I'm going to actually try for this. I feel like I can make that push. And so from what I've heard about this system, I'm seeing reflections of the older systems where people got that hype in locally in like 40-year-old Canlander players with kids that are just like, learning Pioneer, got to read all these cards. What isn't in like? I know Nykthos. What's this Karn do? That kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
I think we should definitely give a shout out there to Huey
Yep.
Jensen, who came on into Wizards, I think last year probably, and got us to where we are now. Certainly not alone, but I think he was obviously a big driving force for that. And at the time of recording, we are well into the sort of first season of this,
Yeah.
with the first Pro Tour coming up in February
Nice.
in Philadelphia. So pretty excited to see how that all unfolds over the next couple of months. 'Cause,
Yeah.
it's good to have it back, and I'm hoping that it does well.
I realized what I also wanted to mention was that for personally, well, I guess not necessarily personally, but for us here at Loading Ready Run, we had the Kamigawa pre-release before that released, of course, and we got to interview Daniel Holt, which was fun, but that was the last PPR without outside guests, because the next one would be Streets, where we would have guests again.
Yeah.
So that was cool. The 2022 Challenger decks came out on April 1st. You don't remember any of these.
Challenger decks.
So these were the
precons.
the standard Challenger decks. These were specifically Mono White Aggro, Dimir Control, Rakdos Vampires, and Gruul Stompy. No?
I love how I'm on
Yeah.
I'm a Scryfall, so I can pull the cards up, right?
Uh-huh.
I've got the Challenger deck, and I click the link, and it only has one card, and it's this guy.
Oh.
I don't.
Why is it an AFR Goblin token?
I don't know. I just thought it was funny. Maybe it was part of the deck. I assume they're all reprints. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's got to be Den of the Bugbear in there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Apparently those decks are pretty all right.
Yeah, I like the Challenger decks.
Mm-hmm. I like the idea that it's like you can pick up one of those and be. You mean less so now because a lot of other sets have released, but you can pick one of them up and be like, You're not going to get absolutely dumpstered at F&M is the idea.
Yeah, I like them more for Pioneer than, and I think
And the Pioneer ones are out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like them more for that format than
Mhm.
standard, mostly because people play Pioneer,
Mhm.
but in paper. But back in the day, when there were actual standard tournaments
Right.
being run, and you would see people that would buy the Challenger decks and
Yeah.
make a little tweaks, and
Tune them up a little bit.
yeah, I think it's important to have product like that.
Yeah. So on April 1st was the release of those, but was not the release of Infinity. Infinity was supposed to come out on April 1st because it's the joke set. Haha,
Mhm.
April Fools, right? But good old supply lines. Bummer. There was the April Secret Lair Super Drop on the 11th, which was, goodness, what did it have? It had Streets New Capenna stuff, Matt Jukes, Magali Villeneuve, Siddharth Chotaverdi, Wayne Reynolds. Oh, the left-handed cards, and one called Just Some Totally Normal Guys.
What?
I don't remember this one at all.
Yeah, I'm not a Secret Lair guy.
No. Oh yeah,
Oh.
look at Void Winnower. Yeah. Just some normal looking guys having a regular one.
Whoa, there's a Goblin Settler?
Yeah.
Oh, that's I saw the art, got a little like, oh, and then yeah,
That's a good
that's
Vengevine.
great.
I like the flavor text on this one. Shout out probably to Ari for that.
I like the idea of Vengevine as some type of Muppet.
Yeah. It looks like a little Sid and Marty Croft action going on there.
This is what Kermit looks like when I'm high on acid.
How often are you high on acid, James? Just for the listeners.
Great question. Next question.
All
All right. April 21st, the introduction of Explorer.
Yes.
Yeah, this was a big one. So when they introduced Alchemy on Arena, it was met with let's
Excuse
be generous and say a variety of responses. One of those responses being tremendously negative.
Mm-hmm.
A sentiment that we echoed because specifically the fact that Alchemy was in Historic and there was no way for it not to be, because there was Standard and then there was Alchemy, and you could choose to play Standard or Alchemy, and you could play Standard with true to paper cards, but with the decision for Historic, which is the anything that's on Arena is legal asterisk, they decided, well, we'll add Alchemy to that, and there was no way to play Alchemy without all the Alchemy cards.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a problem. And I think, we said at the time, I don't play any of that, but I think that's a bad idea. Still don't love that decision. Generally speaking, I don't love a lot of the Alchemy cards as well, and we've talked about that too. Just from a game design perspective, I don't love a lot of them. But so in response to that, people were like, why have you not just added Pioneer? And the reason for that is because there's still years and years and years of cards to add to Arena for that. So what they added instead was Explorer, with the idea that, what they said at least, was eventually Explorer will become Pioneer. That right now it's Explorer, and they're going to slowly be adding backwards stuff into Explorer to sort of fill it out, and then eventually Explorer will just go away, and it'll be like, bing, and it's like, oh, it's Pioneer now suddenly.
Great.
Yeah.
Excited for that. Alchemy. Explorer's not that bad. Historic was my go-to, like, before you could play Gladiator for dailies.
Yeah.
Historic was my go-to, like, yeah, I'll play some constructed magic here. I like Phoenix enough. But then the Alchemy card, it's weird because I don't actually hate the Alchemy cards that much. I found them kind of boring nowadays, where it's just like, oh, this is okay, so it just conjures a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. It either conjures a thing or perpetually it's annoying. Like, those are the two modes.
There's
of
too many
Alchemy cards.
There's too many spell books, and I hate them.
Yeah.
I really don't like spell books. It's so many things to remember, and your opponent casts a thing with a spell book, and you're like, okay, what are you gonna do to me? And then they cast something, and you're like, oh, that card's here. All right.
Yeah,
Sure.
I hate that my brain occupies a spot of like, well, my line is I play this card, I draft the spell book, and if I get Take Vengeance, I can do this. And it's like, that could be used for like the names of my nieces and nephews instead. But I have to, it's used for that line.
That's why, what I was just describing is because it's impossible to memorize all that, my brain just shuts down.
Yeah.
And so it's like, instead of what I like about Magic is, I mean, one of the many things I like about Magic is, all this sort of strategy. And you're like, okay, there's this. This is all the information that I do know. And there's so much information to know, just like mind mapping out as an explosion from one card that I'm just like,
with a die roll, right?
Yeah.
With the randomization.
And you're I'm just like, okay, what you go ahead.
Yeah.
Tell me what happens. What are you doing to me? This? Okay. Sure.
Yeah. But like to
Specialized
close this point.
Clunky as heck. Sorry, yes, go ahead.
Explore is fun. Explore took that over after the alchemy cards, like just playing an historic, and it was like,
nice.
I don't.
Good.
And Explore, you can play decks that are effectively legal and pioneer, like reasonable decks, and you get to. It's kind of interesting to play against. I was going to say diverse metagame, but blue-white control exists, and Rakdos Anvil. But yeah, no, it's a great step in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's in the absence of being able to just go, and now Pioneer is here, which people, including ourselves, are critical of the Arena team for things that they are not able to do. In this instance, I'm not critical of the team not being able to add. It's like 7 years of sets or something.
Yeah, like 2015, I think, like Magic Origins.
Because it start is it Origins?
I believe.
Okay, so there's 4 years of sets that are outstanding. It's a lot, It's and I get it. So if it's like Explorer is this kind of placeholder until it's a fully operational Pioneer, then cool.
RTR. It's RTR.
Okay, so that's even more.
Yes.
Yeah, that's quite a few years.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
To do.
April 29th, we're going to take it to the streets of New Capenna. Taking it to the streets. Yeah, streets of New Capenna. So again, I've talked before about how I really only interact with Draft and Limited.
Mm-hmm.
And this was bad.
Yeah.
I did not like this set.
Yeah.
The set was not... I found it not fun.
Yeah.
To draft.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a bummer because I loved the setting. I loved the art. Loved the art. Huge fan of Art Deco. The styling and motifs and whatnot for Elder Dragon Social Club completely independent of Streets of New Capenna. That's just what it looks like. I know it was awkward because it launched around this time as well, and so I think one person asked in one of the more recent episodes, they're like, "Are you going to like change the styling when the next set comes out?" And it's like, "Oh, no. This isn't a New Capenna thing. It's just what the show looks like." Yeah, I don't know. I had fun at the PPR because it was, everything was brand new. Only one person picked brokers at the PPR, which was really funny because we didn't know. And then once we started actually drafting it on Arena, then we knew. Then we knew.
Yeah.
Now we know. What was your interaction with this set?
Don't like it.
Yeah.
Don't like any part of it, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it's just none of it tickled my fancy. And the size of the Commander product left a real sour taste in my mouth. There were 5 Commander decks.
Right, one for each family.
Yeah. And so many new cards that are fun. They're a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But if your goal is to collect one of every card in the game,
a lot of new cards for you.
A lot of new cards.
Were any of them like relevant in Highlander or?
Yes.
Okay.
Some of them. They're all great for Commander. They're fun cards. It's
yeah.
So many of them.
So many. And was this when we had, or was this the second time? There was cards that I did not like this. This is another thing. Man, I got into a argument with someone on the subreddit the other day that said that we were too kind with Wizard. Again, the thing that we've had before. I really didn't like that there was a set, I think it was this one, where there was commander cards that they were like commander exclusive cards, but they were only in the
the packs,
the collector boosters.
Yeah,
they weren't in the actual commander decks.
They weren't in commander decks. They were in collector and set boosters.
But a lot harder to come across in set boosters. Like a lot more. Like, it wasn't like there was one in every pack. They were much less frequent. Like we cracked a whole box and we got like 3, if I recall.
Because Ed was pissed about how many he had from Yellow Jacket.
Huh.
Yeah, but that could also just be an Ed thing. That sounds like an Ed thing.
Anyway, I really did not. That's just needlessly weird. I mean, an argument could be made. I'm not making this argument. Okay. I want to be really clear. I'm not making this argument, but an argument could be made that it is hewing even closer to Magic as Richard Garfield intended, literally, because if you recall, his thing was like, there's gonna be so many cards, you're gonna sit down at a table, someone's gonna play a card, and you're gonna be like, I've literally never seen that card before. I have no idea that card even existed, and we're there now. Like we're there. Like it's like, hey, here's this card. What the heck is that? Oh, it's from the Call Time theme boosters. What?
Which I genuinely love that for Commander.
Yeah,
it's great. It has helped kind of just take away there was this trope of tables at an LGS just being the top 25 on EDH rec or whatever. Not the case, and I mean it's going to be it's location to location.
Yeah,
but like no, everybody's just doing some weird stuff with these cards you've never heard, and
Sweet.
It's just like, oh, okay.
That's how I build Commander. Cool. I'm in for nonsense. I mean, those of you who've seen my appearances on game nights know that I'm just here for nonsense.
Oh yeah,
it's Commander. It's chaos time. Let's go.
Yeah, lighten up.
Yeah. So, and I will say, first back to Streets of New Capenna, I did think that there was some. For those of us who care about the story and narrative, and there are dozens of us, I did feel like it was a little muddied. That like they were, so we did a whole for the punt counter punt for this episode, which was very funny.
Yeah.
We did a whole film noir thing, and then I think it was Rosewater clarified like, no, this is not film noir. Film noir was from this era of cinema. This is the Roaring '20s. This is the crime set, not the noir set. And we were like, oh well, we're gonna air this anyway because we made it, but. It was just how does this city function? It was a little weird.
Doesn't.
Yeah.
Or poorly.
But it was like I felt like we were not the only ones that sort of made that apparently incorrect connection. And I'm including like some of the artists because it's like some of the stuff was like, oh, this is kind of film noir. This feels like
it gets lumped in.
Make them disappear, have a little chat, the legitimate business person, all that stuff. Like that feels more like, I don't know, that doesn't feel like Roaring '20s crime drama to me.
Which is kind of weird because, like, I don't know if this is an exact one-to-one. Maro has said before, especially with places like Theros, where, Krakens, right? That's not actually, what does that have to do with Greek mythology?
Right.
But because of what is it? The Titans, Clash of the Titans. Because Clash of the Titans it made it so iconic and tied to that that they're like, yeah, let's throw it in there. And that feels like something that a lot of people will lump together is the Roaring '20s plus crime families, therefore neo-noir, Dick Tracy kind of thing. And so just it feels like a thing you would intentionally incorporate and just be like, we know it's not the exact same thing, but tell that to your average like player in an LGS.
And and I am with him on that. Like I totally understand the Krakens thing.
Yeah.
I'm not down on that. I guess I don't know. This feels to me like a but by protesting so much, I think there's an implication of potentially a theme of a future set.
Mhm.
Because the way that he was like, no, this is a crime set. This is I don't know. I don't have the quote handy. I don't know if he said specifically this is not the noir set, but I am assuming that there is a the noir set at some point, or at least that they have an idea for one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, following Kamigawa, kind of a bummer, Streets, but I got a lot of good Kamigawa drafting done. So, you know, every time it was up on Quick Draft, be like, oh, sweet.
It's nice to take a break.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Oh, this was interesting. This was the first time that they also did the when they added the New Capenna alchemy cards, they also put up a temporary New Capenna alchemy draft
yeah.
where one common in every pack would be replaced with one of the New Capenna alchemy cards. And it was only supposed to be there for a weekend, but people played it so much because it was like, look, this format's broken anyway. Let's just go to Clown Town with it. That they kept it around for like a week. It was funny because I remember saying on this podcast that I was like, I actually am really enjoying this because it's like in the same way that I was talking about the draft books alchemy cards earlier that I was like, all right, just let it happen. Whatever you're going to do to me, go for it. Let's see what ridiculous. Oh, it's an artifact that just lets you make a bajillion angels. Okay, great. Sure. Go for it. Why not?
Oh, yeah.
But then a week or two after that, I was like, wait, no, this still sucks. This format's still bad.
The other thing I believe New Capenna did was it was the first set or the set in a while where they released it on Magic Arena after the in-person PPR.
Yes, this was the one where they were testing it.
Yeah, they
And
tested
then-
it. Then they went back to how they were doing it for Dominaria United.
Yeah.
And now they've gone back to it coming out after the in-person pre-release with Brothers War.
Yeah.
And I think they've said that they plan to stick with that
I love
this time. And that is in my opinion, that is the right call.
Yeah, we seem very aligned internally here about thinking this is a good idea.
First pre-release I've been to since probably before whatever set, the core set before M20, since before M20.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was great. Didn't know what every single. Didn't have a concrete idea of every single card.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're in a weird situation with the PPR, but
Yeah.
even if it wasn't for the PPR, I want to have the option to go to my pre-release before the set comes out and experience it without running up against people who've spent the last 48 hours just grinding the hell out of the format out of Arena. Release it on Monday, Tuesday, whatever. Literally Sunday night at 9 p.m. I don't care.
It's a fun shared
just-
experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's a wonderful community
Yeah.
thing of people going, whoa, look at these cards. I've never seen these. I mean, there's spoilers, but it's like I've never played
Never
these
played
cards
with them before.
Yeah.
I think that's
And I have to
Good.
imagine it's good for the local game stores.
Oh, yeah.
right? It has to be.
The 2HG event that we played in,
Mm.
Buddy and I played in, was bumping for, comfortably bumping.
comfortable bumping.
Comfortable bumping. It was great, but I recognized maybe two faces, just packed full of new players.
Awesome.
It was great.
That's really good news.
Yep.
We had the Pride Across the Multiverse Secret Lair, which I mentioned only because Bearscape is awesome.
Gay.
Truly. The first qualifier play-in for the 2022-23 Pro Tour season. Jan Moritz Merkel won the New Capenna Championship. We had the New Capenna Alchemy. 2022 starter kit. We opened one of these on Crack-A-Pack, actually. It was fine.
Oh, these
was fine.
these are like a $10 to $12.
They're real cheap.
They're 2 decks.
Yeah,
right?
it's 2 60-card
Yeah,
decks.
those are great.
And then you've got a code that you can use twice so that you can each get the cards on Arena,
Yeah.
which are not, I found, duplicate protected. So
you have 8 aggressive mammoths.
no,
what
it was just like you get these cards, but I already had 4 of them, and they just sort of disappear into the ether. Like you don't get Vault Progress or wild cards or anything.
Great.
So I mean, they're starter kits. They're not strictly speaking for me, but in case you were planning to. It's not worth it for wild cards. June 10th. We're into June now. Not a lot happening in June, honestly, except for Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate.
Oh
Go ahead.
yeah. Paper.
Yeah.
Some of the most fun you can have drafting.
Mhm.
It was a slam dunk in paper draft environment. It was just so goofy. It introduced a lot of mechanics, or not even introduced, but for the sake of Commander,
Mhm.
the mechanics that they had put into the set, myriad and a lot more goad, and even the initiative drives people to take game actions, drives players,
The
especially
initiative was brilliant
Yeah.
for how it just like forced a game to move
in multiplayer.
in multiplayer.
And great. You
Yeah.
can get people that like are a lot of Commander players they love to take game actions, but they hate to progress the game.
They hate to attack. Yeah.
They hate attacking for a variety of reasons. And like, I don't care if I have to push you to get you to do it. Like once they start doing it.
I love some of our earliest Commander games. James kept getting nasty comments on YouTube for deigning to attack. And James was like, I'm just trying to do the point of the game is to kill your opponents. And that's all I'm trying to do. And they'd be like, oh, but James is attacking poor little sir.
I know this might be a little bit too boot kissing right here. I was going to say foot kissing. That's not a phrase. And
Not on
don't
this show.
mention
That's,
that in the comments.
Pay extra for that.
Patreon.com/. But I think James is like the perfect example of what everyone should strive to do to play Commander.
Yeah.
Just looks to kill people, plays cool stuff, doesn't give a care. It's like, I don't care. Like,
It's great.
I'm playing my cards.
Choo choo.
The initiative in 1v1
Mm-hmm.
were so, oh my God.
Really?
It's so bad. It's too good.
When does it come up in 1v1? Is it like
All the time.
Oh, okay.
Legacy, Vintage, Canadian Highlander.
Really?
Yeah, way
Legacy
too
and
good.
Vintage.
Oh yeah, there's a Legacy deck and kind of a Vintage-ish
What
version of
cards?
it. So the big ones are White Plume Adventurer, which is the 3-mana 1 in white.
The thing is, I've
Yeah.
literally never. I've played this set ones of times
Mm-hmm.
on paper, which was at Jeremy Petter's birthday party.
Yeah.
And so I don't know any of these cards. 2 and a white, 3/3 Orc Cleric enters the battlefield. You take the initiative at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep. Untap a creature you control if you've completed a dungeon. Untap all creatures you control.
Yeah. So imagine a format where you could get this out on turn 1 pretty easily, or turn 2 pretty easily, because that's what happens.
So turn 1. So what you like?
Ancient Tomb,
Ancient
City of
Tomb,
Traders,
Black Lotus.
plus Chrome Mox or Lotus Petal,
Okay.
or maybe Mox Diamond.
And then the first step of the initiative dungeon is you go looking for a land.
Find a basic land.
Put it into play or your hand?
Put it into your hand.
Okay.
But your opponent can't attack you, right?
Because you have a 3/3
Because you got a 3/3.
on turn 1.
Yeah. I mean, Delver can technically get over. That's a certain balance to this, but your deck has solitudes, and we don't have to get too deep into this.
All right.
But it sets you up for more initiative.
Right.
And it makes it so difficult for them to take it back. And there's a second one called Seasoned Dungeoneer from the Commander Legends Baldur's Gate Commander decks.
Right.
Yeah, which does the same.
Wow, that art.
Yeah, it's really good.
Dang. All right. So 3 and a white, 3/4 Human Warrior ETB. You take the initiative. Whenever you attack, target attacking cleric, rogue, warrior, or wizard gains protection from creatures until end of turn, and it explores. Not whenever this attacks. Whenever you attack.
Yeah.
So any attack and a cleric, rogue, warrior, or wizard gets protection from creatures and explores.
Which this is the
warrior.
White Plume Adventurer is a cleric.
Oh, good.
And in Canlander, Canadian Highlander, if you're playing a deck with white creatures in them, a lot of warriors, a lot of not a lot of rogues, a lot of clerics and warriors.
Wow.
And the occasional wizards pop up. It's so we complained about the Monarch when it was introduced for 1v1, where it felt oppressive.
Mm-hmm.
This is, at least with the Monarch, like technically the game goes on.
Right.
Where they're drawing an extra card a turn, that's really good, but there are ways to get it back
Right.
and to reset in a way. The initiative, if you steal the initiative, they're still at that point in the dungeon. So if they get it back, which their deck is filled with initiative cards,
Right.
they could do that much
They just
easier.
get to go to the next step.
They just get to finish the dungeon, which when you finish the Undercity, the last stage lets you dig 10 cards deep
right.
and put a creature into play, which was going to let you take the initiative again. And so you just keep going and going.
Hmm. Right.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard about this. This seems like a big problem.
Yeah. Also introduced Minsk and Boo, Timeless Heroes.
Oh yeah.
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 Up there with one of the best planeswalkers of all time. I can't believe I slept on this card as much as I did initially. I will never forgive myself.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, 2 red, green for a 3 loyalty walker. When Minsk and Boo enters the battlefield, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you may create Boo, a legendary 1/1 red hamster token with trample and haste. +1, put 3 counters on up to 1 target creature with trample or haste. Real narrow window there.
Mm-hmm.
And -2, this is ridiculous. Sacrifice a creature. When you do, Minsk and Boo deals X damage to any target, where X is that creature's power. If the sacrificed creature was a hamster, draw X cards. So it's like, play Minsk and Boo, you make Boo, you +1, you attack them with a 4/4 trample haste.
Yep.
Untap -2, sack Boo, deal 4 to something, draw 4 cards.
Yeah. Or just plus on Boo
Or just plus
again
Boo again and
hit
hit
them
them
for
for
7.
7. Yeah, exactly.
Or-
Also, they can be your commander.
That's my favorite line of text to read off to a Canadian Highlander player is, did you know Minsk and Boo Timeless Heroes can be your commander? Yeah, it's, what if we made Gideon Ally of Zendikar, the Battle for Zendikar Gideon, that was really good. But instead of like, oh, I have to get rid of this knight and then the Gideon, it's, oh, I have to get rid of this hamster and then, oh, I'm dead. Okay, great. The only redeeming quality of this card is that for whatever reason, locally, Canlander players have gotten, they want to get Hamtaro trading cards to represent Boo. That is like the only factor of this card where it's like, oh, this is kind of fun. Like, you know.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
So this set, this release, the Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate, got like kind of roasted. It got kind of dragged over the coals.
Yeah, for really stupid reasons, if I may say.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's just,
Can you fill me in?
Yeah, so a portion, and people might be like, no, this isn't why we were mad. This is why we were mad.
Right.
But a part of it
I don't remember. I was literally in hospital.
So a part
at
of
this
it
point.
has
I
to
have
do
no memory of this.
with the reprints
Mm-hmm.
and the high value cards.
Right.
And how there were, the feeling was that overall there weren't enough high value reprints
Compared to the first Commander Legends.
Yes.
Because a bunch of those ended up in Double Masters.
Yes, exactly. Ended up in Double Master 2022, or it ended up in the Commander Legends Commander decks. So the individual Commander decks, which is like, that part of it is I think a reasonable complaint, like a very small amount of it, I want to say is reasonable, of just like, yeah, some people like these products because they get a chance to pick up cool cards that were once $1 bajillion just because they've only been printed in Shadowmoor or whatever. But we also got that with lands, which isn't exciting. But like, I personally didn't own a luxury suite because it was like $50.
They reprinted Luxury Suite in this set.
Yeah.
Dang. All right.
And now they're cheap and affordable and great lands to
Sweet.
pick up. They're plentiful. Then some also just people like, where's my Hull Breacher? Where's my Jeweled Lotus? And it's just like, you know.
Because the arguments that I heard was sort of like, this is a set where you draft Commander and people who draft don't like it and people who play Commander don't like it. And I mean, again, I didn't get to play it until Jared's birthday party, but what I understood internally here from people who like drafting and Commander was that we all thought it was pretty sweet. Like,
I bet if you asked Adam,
yeah,
who his brain only know limited, he would probably put it into one of his top 3 draft formats.
Oh yeah, he loves it.
Loves it.
He loves it
to bits.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. It's such a good fun.
I think the trouble is you have to convince Commander players to draft. I think that's the big roadblock
Yeah.
that this set found. And I guess, I mean, if you're out there and you're listening and you haven't tried this out yet, even though we've been shouting at you probably for about 6 months to do so, you know, buy a box. It's probably like $60 right now. Like I can't imagine these boxes of cards are all that expensive. Like go find a box, grab some friends, and just draft this set because it is a ton of fun. Is the power level super high? No, it's not. But like that, it's still really good. And it's like these are the set. Like you think about all the ones that came before it. You know, Conspiracy, Take the Crown. What's
Battle
that? Battle Bond. This is another perfect example of these multiplayer draft sets that somehow, even though they don't generally do very well in terms of sales, Wizards keeps trying to make them work. And I would argue this is the best one of them yet. And I think they can only go, I mean, factually, they've been getting better, so they only will continue to get better, but only if people get out there and play them. So please do, because this thing was great.
So
I love
good.
this.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, we'll talk about this in the next episode because this is, you know, that's June, right? But it was less than a month until Double Masters came out. And it did feel like, Commander Legends just got sort of, I don't know, buried in the cycle of
Yeah.
I mean, on one hand, pairing it or like having it so close to a reprint only set, I think is fine. Maybe that's just my personal approach, is that like I have some amount of privilege in being able to mostly ignore a reprint set because it's just that. I mean,
Right.
it's a draft set too, but it's just like, okay. I mean, this product exists. I'll just keep playing these Baldur's Gate cards.
Yeah.
Seems fine.
You know, what's funny is for all I talked about alchemy earlier, I actually ended up playing a lot of the Baldur's Gate alchemy set in draft on Arena. Did you play any of that?
I did a couple of drafts of it, but I have an interesting relationship with the Baldur's Gate alchemy
Oh yeah.
on Arena. Yeah, I hate it.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Curious relationship.
Did you know Minsk and Boo can be in your commander and can be in your gladiator deck?
Yeah, but he's 5 mana on Arena.
Not in gladiator.
Oh,
He's
interesting.
4. Do you know what the Tasha does on Arena? Arena Tasha?
I'm trying to remember, because here's the thing: is that like I don't know why. I guess I was enjoying myself. I played a lot of that form. I think it's because I was just absolutely desperate to draft something new and different because Streets of New Capenna was gone.
Yeah.
I really dislike Specialize.
Yeah.
But because it was clunky as heck. But I don't know. I can't. I indefensibly played a ton of this format on Arena. No, what is the Arena Tasha?
Tasha
do?
Witch Queen. It's 2 blue and a black. I believe it has either 4 or 5.
the
starting-
Planeswalker.
Yeah, the
Oh yes,
Planeswalker.
no, absolutely F
Yeah,
that card.
yeah.
That card's that card's preposterous.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
my God.
Tasha, Unholy Archmage, absolutely unbeatable. 2 blue black for a 4 loyalty walker. +1 until your next turn. Whenever a creature attacks you or Tasha, put a -1/-1 counter on it. So it probably just dies. -2, target opponent puts a creature card of their choice from their graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. That creature gains Ward 2.
Why?
-6, target opponent reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal 3 creature cards. Put those cards onto the battlefield under your control. That player puts the rest into their graveyard. I never saw Tasha Ultimate because I just lost.
Yeah.
I just lost the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about. No, I must have blanked that out
Yeah.
because I was just, morbidly shaken to my very core by this card. This card's messed up.
Yeah, I feel bad even saying it, but this release genuinely, and especially because I'm about to talk about Gladiator.
Right.
This made me dislike Gladiator.
Oh, you.
I just was like, there was a period of time where I'm like, I don't want to do this. Minsk and Boo, like I'm just M&Bing people, and then Tasha shows up, and it's just like all these specialized cards, and oh God, too much. Stop,
Yeah.
please.
I didn't mention the Streets of New Capenna PPR, was our first one sort of like easing back into having guests, which we brought Marshall and Kenji up from Seattle because they're close by and they've done this before. And it was like, okay, we'll sort of know the lay of the land. And then for Commander Legends, we got to do the big launch content. If you haven't watched them, there's some good Commander games. We did. We got Shivam and Ailey into town to play those, and those were super fun games. I didn't realize this until I was almost done doing the review on it, but the recent episode of Elder Dragon Social Club, Wheel of Precons episode 3, or as we call it for YouTube purposes, Asking Surge Not to Block, was yourself, Surge, Adam, and Shivam, which was the same pod from the Commander Legends game. Yeah. So if you want more of that energy, you should definitely check those videos out.
Unfortunately, different outcome.
So, yeah, the Commander Legends was a weird thing. Yeah, it was funny when I did play at when I did get to finally play it in paper, because I had played so much of the draft on Arena, which again, I think it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know, like some sort of very unhealthy junk food where it's like, this is bad, but I can't stop eating it, right? So like, playing it in paper was so confusing. It was so utterly baffling because every single card, I was like, oh yeah, this card, wait, what? What's this? What? Because the cards, even the cards that are like, there's a bunch of cards in the paper set that just aren't on Arena, because there's a bunch of cards on the Arena set that are just reprints from AFR, which was weird. But even the cards that are in both just do completely different things in paper to Arena. So I was just like, well, what? It was very confusing. And then they did another Secret Lair in June, the June Super Drop, and one called Here Be Dragons. The Tokyo Lands, Chris Ron, Livia Prima, Vulcan Baga, Kellogg Sloops, and Rule the Room. I did get those lands.
You could have made up. I mean, I know the artist names, but I guess they're all artists. Kellogg Sloops?
Kellogg Sloops. One word. K-E-L, one L. K-E-L-O-G-S-L-O-O-P-S. Kellogg Sloops. I don't know if it's Kellogg's Loops.
Oh, yeah, I like that Mystic Remore art.
Yeah, no, it's the great art. It's awesome art. It's just I love the color palette.
Yeah.
But Kellogg Sloops.
James, can I see the Livia Prima?
I'm just reminding yourself what these are.
Well, I really like her artwork.
Ah, yes.
Powerful. Macias.
Illustrations by Livia Prima with flavor text from her husband.
Sorry. It's just didn't expect to see Glissa Sunseeker again. It's been 20 years. This is a funny one. It destroys an artifact. 2 and 2 green for a 3/2 legendary elf warrior. First strike. Taps to destroy target artifact if its mana value is equal to the amount of unspent mana you have. Printed when Mana Burn was a thing.
What the? Wait.
Yeah.
So do you have to float the mana?
Yeah, you float the mana.
You have to float the mana first.
Yeah.
Weird. Is that Vorinclex in the back? It is. On the right.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Because that's the elves, her family or elves or whoever on the left, and then Phyrexian on her side there, and she's getting compleated.
That Olivia art is great. The Mobilized for War. Very powerful.
Very Castlevania.
Yeah. Sword kind of looks like a guitar.
Not a criticism, to be clear. Not a criticism. Oh, speaking of which, the Castlevania, this is, I think, from the previous year, but the one of Soren looking like Alucard.
Oh,
because they got the artist who did work with Konami. Yeah. That's very cool. Anyway, well, that was the first half of the year.
So here's what I'll ask.
Yeah.
We'll behind the scenes little curtain pull here. We're literally just going to go right into recording the next episode. So we will. I think we'll get your overall thoughts on the year and like your favorite draft sets and stuff like that at the end of that episode.
Yeah, we can't ask you to be like, Is there anything else from the first half of the year that we missed out? We'll talk about it
Yeah.
next episode because we're going to record that.
We're
in a
going to
few
record
minutes.
right away. But I will say that I
Yeah.
am curious, and I realize that I'm asking this of the guy who spent a lot of the first half of the year battling cancer, and the other one who had a brain injury. How'd you feel about Magic at the end of June?
Who are you?
Yeah. Halfway through the year, how you feeling?
I miss playing it. Is if I put myself back in that mindset, right? Like I was supposed to be in that Commander game for Baldur's
Dude,
Gate.
the timing on that command, you found out what was going on 2 days before we recorded that.
Yeah. So like
It was rough.
yeah, like I wasn't just like I was literally in hospital with
Yeah.
a feeding tube at that time.
Yeah.
Right. And they were like, I think were you like texting me pictures to be like, is this camera angle okay?
Probably.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So that was weird. I definitely was just like, I want to be playing Magic.
Yeah.
But I mean, loved Kamigawa. That was sweet.
Mhm.
And then didn't love New Capenna that much. I don't know. I felt fine, honestly. Like in terms of like the state of Magic, I felt fine. It's easy to feel down on it when you're on Reddit and Twitter because people get real mad about all kinds of
Everything.
stuff.
Everything.
And some of it's justified.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of it I think is just like a thing that's totally okay to be upset at, but not like that
Angry.
upset.
It's funny.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier in the episode that you got into a fight with somebody on Reddit.
Yeah.
I read that fight without realizing that you were the person in like having that conversation. I wasn't paying attention to the usernames. I was like, yeah, this person's got our. Oh wait, it's actually just Graham.
Yeah. Well, because they were like Graham was like so like soft-handed with the Magic 30 stuff, and I was like, I didn't think I was being. I said I liked all the other stuff in that presentation, but I didn't think I liked Magic 30. And then they're like, and then Wheeler finally spoke up, and I was
Thank
like,
God for Wheeler.
yeah. And I was like, well, because you were like, permission to speak freely. This honks or whatever it was.
You even said, "Oh, thank God." I think we're thankful we're on the same page. Like I think
Yeah.
that's what you said in the podcast.
Yeah, well, because I'd just been talking, and Wheeler and Cameron were just not saying anything, and I was like,
Oh God. Did
oh
they
no,
like it?
oh no, am I the one that's wrong? And then you were like, yo, I hate this, and I'm like, oh, good.
Yeah, I think that was also the most like just blatantly like it's just bad
Yeah.
reaction to anything.
Yeah,
But
We'll get to
I don't
that
know.
next
I felt
episode.
yeah, we'll
talk
get to
about it.
we'll
But
get
yeah, I think you'll find that.
you're too reasonable.
I mean, we've said it before, and we'll say it again, and I guess we'll just have to keep saying it until we're horse in the mouth. But the
I could go for some horse.
Horse in the mouth. A long face, huh?
As soon as I said that, I was like, that was an odd and bad choice of words.
Yeah.
But Wizards doesn't get to control what we say or think. Certainly not on this.
My favorite I know how much you hate it, but it is
bugs the crap
it's
out of me.
such a funny misconception.
But it's just I get the impression that because we are not firing spittle across the room with rage, that we don't think that these things that we say are bad, right? I
Mhm.
don't like alchemy. I think Specialize is bad. I think there's too many spell books. I think New Capenna was a bad draft format.
Yeah. Not enough.
It's like, oh,
Yeah, I tend to see my real anger for like, why is my heating bill so much this month? Or just like, God, lettuce is so expensive nowadays. That real stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just
I on Reddit specifically, it's like I can look at a thread, like just scrolling down the feed of like everything,
Mhm.
right? And it's like, oh yeah, this Magic thing is like seems kind of seems like it might be not with the consumer's best interest at heart. Next post down is like combat footage from Ukraine. Which one am I gonna like be angry about? Right? It's like, well, human rights violations, I think, more so than Magic the Gathering.
And then inevitably people are like, yes, dude, Magic 30 is a human's right violation. Finally, you
And
guessed
we
it.
said before, you can be angry about more than one thing. I am not trying to do that thing where it's like, oh, you're angry about magic, but what about all the horrors of the world?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not actually trying to do that.
Interesting that you won't finish your meal, and yet Africa has so many starving children. It's just like, no, okay. All right, thank you.
I actually feel pretty all right about magic in June. Thanks for asking, James.
Wheeler?
I don't know. I could ride the high of Kamigawa,
Yeah.
and like some of the stuff honked, but
When did they add Gladiator to Arena? That was in the second.
that was
half
in
of
the
year.
second half.
Oh,
Yeah.
tune in for next episode.
There were things that I really liked, and I interacted with those because I liked them. And then there were things I didn't particularly like as much, and so I did not interact with those as much.
What a take.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for part 1 of the year in review for 2022. Tune in next week for part 2 with myself and Wheeler again. Until then, a reminder that this show is brought to you by Card Kingdom. Check out cardkingdom.com/loadingreadyrun. Ask for a button. Buy yourself some of the good cards, but not the cards that you don't want. Ha. Also, this show and everything we do is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Until next time, I'm Graham, joined by Wheeler.
Thank you for having me. It was great to be here.
James is on tech.
Bye.
Heather gets these online. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.